was over there. They know. Are you recording now and shit? Let me stop.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get this.
Hey,
working out this technology.
But word on the street is that that Thurman fight pay-per-view numbers is on par with the Porter Crawford fight.
What about the VADA results? So we got the VADA results back from that Keith Thurman fight, because Keith Thurman looked like a goddamn action figure.
Hey, well, that fight was boring, man.
Was it? I didn't watch. I saw how Keith Thurman looked.
All right, we starting up Pop Talk. This is our Dirty Dozen, our 13th episode. We are the pundits of pugilism. I'm Professor Nims bringing it to you. And I got my man to the right of me, the Casual Rand. We got the philosophical coach within this game who gives us the holistic view on this fight game, Coach Dave.
Oof.
All right, and you know, bosses only, Boston Jared, don't forget the S.
Peace.
All right, so we're gonna jump right into this week. We got a lot of boxing news, some reaction and other things to go into. But we don't want to bore you with a lot of this talk. But yeah, so I do want to make sure. Yeah, thank you for making sure we get to this gallery view. All right, so we need the producer is in my ear. Appreciate that. So we got Thurman and Shields. They dominated over the weekend. We will also give some attention to Chris Eubanks, who had a very decisive win himself. There was the Taylor versus Serrano presser. And then there's this kind of, we'll do a kind of quick hitting news because there's some talks within the 135 weight division, some rumblings. And then we always have to deal with the cash cow at the moment, Canelo, and what is going on with him. But with that said, let's go ahead and jump in to this and talk about Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman made his triumphant return to the ring, and he fought a very game Mario Barrios, and it was a pretty decisive decision. But I think the operative word there is that it was a decision. He might have stung and hurt Barrios a couple of times, but in my eyes, never really had him in too much trouble. If I didn't really score at the time, but 9-3, 10-2, something like that sounds about right. And what we learned from this fight, in my opinion, one is that, I mean, Keith looked in incredible shape. We will say that. He still seemed to have all of the physical gifts that we remember about him earlier, that I wouldn't say that made him, I don't know if it's special is the word, but really made him a standout within his weight division. I don't want to kind of take coach's take on it, but I actually throw it to him. But I was a little kind of bored a little bit with the fight myself. I know he was going for the knockout. I think that he's kind of angling for a fight with Tank, and he's been kind of like, well, he called me out, and he's and I think that he wanted to look impressive in fighting the guy that Tank was able to stop. I don't know if he was able to do that, but he got the W. He's still a player. He's still a name. When the name Crawford, came about, he seemed a little kind of reticent. But Coach, what did you think about One Time's performance over the weekend?
Well, look, it was a boring fight, man. But I give him all the props on the shape that he came into. No different than I give the props to even old Holyfield, and he was in shape. So I'm not fooled by the looks of a boxer's, physical appearance. What I didn't like about the fight was boring to me. I think he is a player. Yeah, he came back and won, but I think he's more so a player just off a historical namesake. He just, to me, it was just something about his fight. I thought he was lunging with a lot of punches, man. I think he did what he needed to do to win the fight, but it's hard for me to talk about Thurman and put him in any conversation with those top guys that's out there now, man. Even the up and coming ones, man. It's just, Crawford, Spence. It's just hard for me to put him in the same sentence with that, man. I think he say, hey, I want all the champions. I think he had a point probably where I think he think his time is limited. He can call himself one time. He only got a couple more times. I think he's trying to find maybe a big fight and call it a day. Start sitting next to Sean Porter, commentating or something. So my take on it, great win, did what he needed to do. He was in great shape. It was a boring fight. I thought his punches, his whole fight game looked different. He looked just like he was lunging a lot. And I just don't see him doing anything with those guys in the top. Like that's as raw and as short as I can get it, man. I wasn't excited about it, man.
Yeah, Boston Jared, what was your view on this $75 pay-per-view fight? We do want to note that.
I'll defer to Randy because I didn't watch that shit. I'm not sitting here. I'm not watching garbage fights no more, man. I'm not watching fights. I'm not watching fights that don't interest me no more, man. I still try to get my take on the news and stuff like that. But when fights come on that aren't interesting, I'm not gonna watch.
You didn't miss that.
Yeah. So what are your views about this?
I will say this. Let me say this. I will say that, and I hate to be that guy because it seems like I'm becoming that guy on this particular program here. I've never seen that kind of muscle mass on Keith Thurman ever in his entire career. Even when he fought up at 154 for a time, I have never seen him look like a goddamn Dragon Ball Z character, man. I saw him step on that scale. The dude had muscles on his eyelids, man. I've never seen that before on him.
And virtually no body fat. He actually weighed less than Barrios. So
I'm sure he did because he
all muscle.
He had 0% body fat, dude. I've never seen.
Until he popped hot, man.
I've never seen. Have you guys seen him fight plenty of times? Have you ever seen Keith Thurman look like that before?
He looked harder. He always had kind of a bit of a soft. I mean, he always came in shape, but he had more of a kind of a soft. But he looked like rock. Like he did. He looked rock.
Straps coming up to his ears and shit. 6-pack, veins, vascular.
Yeah, Trap God. He was giving you a run for the money.
Right.
What I want to say is, everybody here had their little opinion on Thurman, but like I've always said, like men lie, women lie, numbers don't. And what's coming out now is they projected one. I mean, these numbers are low when in the big scheme of things, but at this way boxing is sitting right now, he was projected like at 150. But now they're talking about like he's coming in way over 170. It's showing that he still has a following. So we might not like Thurman as a boxer, but if he comes in and he has, if this shows that this fight against Barrios it came on par with Crawford Porter, that tells me that Thurman has a following.
How convenient would that be that this kid would come in with his numbers? Where are you getting these numbers from?
Man, don't worry about it. Don't worry about my sources. But listen, hear me out. So I mean, if it would have been a bust, it would have came out and said it's a bust. Y'all haven't heard anything. So that the real official numbers ain't came out yet. But so right now, on the street, it did better than it projected. It ain't no Scott. It ain't no Earth.
I haven't heard any of that news.
Randy got secret sources. Tank,
man, I got sources. So let's talk about. So now let's talk about the implications of that, though. You know what I'm saying? That's what this whole thing is about.
I know what the implications are. He's gonna fight Spence.
Yes.
Come on, ain't no goddamn mystery. This ain't,
So you already mentioned before the cameras came on that PBC ain't got the money. So everybody knows that they weren't going to pay Crawford's asking price regardless if they have money or not.
Just to be clear, don't take my word for it. You can go and listen to what Adrian Broner had to say earlier this week about purses.
And he
got more knowledge than I got. He got way more insight than I got.
Yeah, but he's been
Wait,
a
I'm
scoring
sorry.
level for a long time, bro. He's been scoring for a long time, bro. So I'm not listening to Adrian Broner, but at the same time, it just makes sense. I mean, like he's there. He's a PBC fighter. If he has to fight another, he said if he has to fight another tune-up, I think he might get scorched on this tune-up if they put him against Virgil Ortiz, another PBC fighter. You know what I'm saying? And then fight Spence.
Virgil's PBC?
I think Virgil Ortiz is PBC.
Nah, I thought
he fought on
No. He's Golden Boy, right?
He's Golden Boy. So Golden Boy got exclusive rights with the Zone, I believe.
Yeah, Golden Boy. He Golden Boy. But at the same time, he like the WBC is controlling that. So they'll make that that final eliminator to fight Spence, right?
What you talking about?
I'm looking at this. So
nah. Wait a second.
Let's talk a little bit about the numbers. So in the fight, Keith Thurman was paid $3 million. He was given $750K to show, and it says 225,000 for pay-per-view sales money. And then Mario Barrios was paid 1.5 million, 500K to show, and 1 million pay-per-view money. His was points based. Keith Thurman was not points based. So that's just basically whatever the pay-per-view is. That's saying that he'll get it, and Barrios is more of a percentage when you think about points based.
But they start $4 million in the red without.
That is a big payout. That is, and you can see why they were asking people to pay $75. I mean, but if they got anywhere close to 200K for that, if you think about that, that's almost the equivalent to like 400,000 buys for a $40 or $50 pay-per-view. So if they can do those numbers, more power to him. I just don't see how, unless Barrios, has a big following, because I'm not sure how interested people are in Keith Thurman at this point.
I mean, like we say that, but if the numbers come up and show that they did north of 150, that means somebody's buying this. You know what I'm saying? It might
that means it's inflated. That means the numbers totally make believe. There's no way that this kid can outsell Tank Davis. There's no way. And Tank did what against a 2-week replacement?
Tank.
That was a LA bum. I mean, it was an LA fight, and then it was a late replacement. So
what did he do? What was officially reported? It was like what was it, 150 or 170? What was it? He ain't doing what Tank did.
We'll check those, but let's kind of and then we'll kind of talk about that, that on a kind of a macro level. But let's give due time to the GOAT, Clarissa Shields. She came through. She was actually on the undercard, but I want to give her the kind of top billing when we talked about that. She went over to London and fought Kuzmin. Am I saying that right?
I don't know, but they were in Wales.
Kozin. Yeah, Kozin. And she won basically every minute of every round. I don't know if she maybe got hit with maybe a couple of punches, but it was a pretty clean victory. She did not get the stoppage, which she wanted. She definitely wanted the stoppage. I thought she was close at some point. The commentators, I think they were a little critical, maybe hypercritical, in the fact that they were from the UK, and they had their fighter who was sitting ringside, Savannah Marshall, who is a knockout artist in the women's middleweight division, but she took care of business. And the one thing about Clarissa Shields, she is, because of, I think a lot of it has to do with her Olympic background experience, and her fighting style, and she has just this great personality, but she is really shown that she can be a transcendent star. Because they loved her over there. They absolutely ate it. They absolutely loved her. And to me, to like see that adulation, for women's boxing. At that point, I thought it was a beautiful scene. So let's go to let's go to the casual one. You got a smirk. What's that? What's that? What's that smirk?
It's funny. It's funny like one of ours has to go back over to Europe to get their adulations and get their roses. You know what I'm saying?
but you know who had to do that kind of in it? Well, they said that, and I'll let Dave. Well, he's not that much older than me, but because like didn't Muhammad Ali kind of had to do that European tour? Remember he did that. He was just fighting over there to really kind of get the adulation. You don't remember that? He did a worldwide tour. Muhammad Ali. Y'all don't remember that? Come on.
Well, back then, them dudes, they fought everywhere. They fought all over the world. They were global stars back then. I don't know that Ali ever did like a stretch in Europe, but it wasn't.
I thought it was very purposeful. I thought he had kind of, it was very strategic. But I will digress because we were taking away the casuals point. But go ahead, Randy.
I just wanted to point that out, and it's if you see on the male, I mean, we pointed this out about this one on the female side, and it's starting to look like that's going to have to happen on the male side too. That we're going to have to go to Europe and bust some heads to get the recognition or get the shine that some of the fighters that deserve it. It's a shame, but to go back to Clarissa, man, she looked good. My only knock on her is like we pointed out earlier, sometimes she just wild with the punches, man. If she sat down and just threw more clean shots, I thought I was actually looking forward to this fight because she worked with Floyd for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Floyd was giving them some pointers, so I was like, all right, Floyd gonna help her clean them shots up and get that girl out of here. But she got the W. Yeah. She got the W, and then I'm looking forward to this next fight she got.
All right. So, Coach, you seem very pensive over there. So you are the kind of flag bearer for, on this channel for women's boxing and that. So what are your thoughts on this fight?
Well, I definitely I love Clarissa Shields. I'm a big fan, so I'm definitely gonna beat the truth in love. So hands down, man, she dominated the fight, man. Punch volume was high. I think I could tell she was working more, at trying to really get to the body. I think she is a great fighter. I stand cautious on putting that GOAT title on her yet because you got 12 fights and you got 2 knockouts. Yeah. You got 12 fights and you got 2 knockouts. And I think that kind of like what Randy was saying, man, because a lot of those punches are just kind of that she's strong and hit hard, man, and she's just strong. Yeah. But a lot of them are wild. They're not. I want to see her learn how to systematically dismantle some of these women that she's fighting. And at one point in the fight, though, the thing that kind of hurt me the most, at one point in the fight, Clarissa threw about 6 or 7 headshots to this girl. Those headshots was coming, and the girl literally raised up so high.
Yeah, please go to the ribs.
I saw nothing come down. You punching up top, and you see that thing open up, man. I saw her put no salts on those ribs. Rat. I mean, make this girl just piss cricket. So I think that there's a lot of growth. I think a lot of
We'll clean that up.
Oh, my bad. I'm just saying, because if she sit down and she incorporate a lot of core in those body shots, that girl knockout ratio would just skyrocket. Well, I wish she would come to Hit Hard Boxing because we love that inside thump. And let me say this finally though. Let me just say this to close out on Clarissa. It's funny because I'm on her about punching wide and those looping punches, but let me tell you this. Let me be the first one to say it right now. I think, even though her knockout volume is low, I think that this daggone Savannah Marshall is tailor-made for the way that Clarissa punches. She's kind of slow. Marshall reminds me of a female George Foreman. Yes, she hits hard, but she's
that
slow.
Is a great description of it. Yeah, I can see that.
She's slow, hands down. She pulls out, and those looping shots coming from somebody like Clarissa, she get clipped. I see her stopping Savannah Marshall.
Wow.
Whether it's intentional or not, it's just like these fighters are made for each other's style. And I think Clarissa Shields is going to stop. I think one of those wild punches that Clarissa be throwing, wide, not wide, or those looping ones, going to knock this girl straight out. I'm talking to sleep.
I actually think, and I'll kind of say my comments on who that, but I actually think that matchup, Savannah Marshall and Clarissa Shields, I think it could be a pay-per-view matchup. I'd give them their due. Like, these are they have history, and these are very high-level women fighters. One is known as a knockout artist who's a little bit slow and prodding, as our coach was talking about. And then the other one who is the Olympic star with the big personality. They're almost kind of diametrically kind of opposed in this sense, but it makes, like, when they come together, I think it could be a very, very kind of one of those events that captures the imagination of the general public. So
you're looking at a female form against Ali.
Yeah,
a female form against Ali.
That's the fight. That's what I would put it at. Go ahead, Boston. I know you didn't watch the other card, but did you? I thought that this was probably the best from top to bottom, one of probably the best card of the weekend, the fight card. So what are your thoughts?
What I was looking forward to the most. I really thought that this was going to be the premier card of the weekend. And to a degree, it was. I don't know if you guys saw, but the Liam Williams, Chris Eubanks fight broke some sort of
about that
record. It broke.
It did. It did.
Sports, which was
it captured
everything you need to know about that British boxing market, man. They are a rabid fan base, and when you put a name, a Eubanks or a band out there, man, it's a recipe for success over there, man. But real quick, just to dovetail off what Randy said, I don't want to get too much into the fight. Women's boxing, to me, is the word that comes to mind is parity. And there's such a lack of parity. There's no middle class in women's boxing. You got the top people at the division, and then there's just such a talent gap between everybody else that it makes it tough to watch at times. So I don't want to get into too much of the fight. I mean, Clarissa dominated the fight. The girl she was in there with had no chance. But dovetailing off what Randy said, it's a shame that an athlete, I don't want to say a woman, but an athlete that's as accomplished that she as she is, has to go overseas. Well, maybe she doesn't have to. Maybe the business of this fight made sense, and maybe in the interest of building the Savannah Marshall fight, it was strategically placed, the fight. But I wish that she would get a little bit more credit for doing what she's doing. I mean, she basically doing what some of the illest athletes in the history of sports have done. Talking about Dion going from the baseball field over to the football field, and Bo Jackson going from the baseball field over to the football field. Clarissa just came out the octagon, albeit she lost, but with almost no MMA background. She came out the octagon less than a year ago, and she's back in the boxing ring. I mean,
which is, I think she should stay. I think the only reason that she even went into the octagon is because that there is not an appreciation. So when it comes to MMA, there's actually a bigger audience. But the only reason that if she had big fights that were available for her, that's the same reason why. I mean, even though Holly Holmes has a bit of a kickbox, I mean, she does have a kickboxing background, but they all talked about that the money is really in MMA, and that is on the promoters, and that's also on the fans, particularly within the US, I think, for not supporting boxing, women's boxing. And so I think, we are all culpable within this. With that said, I think that there are fights out there that, as we talked about, will capture the imagination of the general public. And there was a presser actually this weekend where Katie Taylor, a two-time, I believe, Olympic champion, she is fighting Amanda Serrano, and they had the press conference. And if people don't know, this is another super fight. This is a great fight. I'm really looking forward to this fight. So I think that we're seeing opportunities for these fights to get the platform that they deserve. But one of the, there may be a lack of parity that needs to be addressed in there. But I say if the best are fighting the best, then they deserve a platform. So when Clarissa Shields, when she steps into the ring with Savannah Marshall, I think that they should be top billing. It should be pay-per-view, and they should be paid well for their services. So with that said, I'll talk a little bit about that. I've done some research on, so Savannah Marshall was, actually, I didn't know a lot about her until maybe a few years ago because she signed with, does anybody remember?
She signed with Matchroom, isn't she?
Well, yeah, but a few years ago, she actually kind of signed with a pretty big name.
She was Golden Boy?
It was Floyd. It was Floyd Mayweather. And it was just kind of like, remember? Yeah, they had signed. I was just like, what happened to that? And it was just like, so they went and I did a little bit of research. And I think part of it was that she had actually moved out to Vegas to kind of like work with them and kind of work under his guidance. From my understanding, she really didn't like that area, the kind of temperature. Like if you come from the UK, which is kind of a dampy, cold environment, and you go to the dry heat of the desert, it can be. But so I'm not sure where that stands at this point, but that was the first time that she had really came into my radar. And part of him signing her was not the fact, not only that she was a good fighter, but she's really essentially the only person that's ever beat Shields, right? So that's the thing that everybody's kind of been holding on to and saying that, and it happened in every, she's the only person that's ever beat her. So when they kind of think about that, like this is that, this person that they kind of hold up, and they never had the opportunity to meet during the Olympics because, as Shields would say, Katie always fell. She came up short during those times. And
you're talking in the amateurs, she's beating her.
Yeah, in amateurs.
Okay.
Yeah, but just at all. Like I think she's the only person that's got into the ring with Shields that's ever beat her. Like Shields, so that is the only name. So there is something that they can. I think it's going to be a very, very interesting matchup. I think when it comes to just the physical talents of Shields, I think it's a little bit much for Savannah to overcome. But she is when you see her fight, she has a very, very pro style. And I think, in my opinion, it's her style is a little bit more pro developed than, say, Clarissa Shields. But we won't stay too long on this. But like, Coach, what are your thoughts? Well, I get you already talked about how you felt that Shields may stop her, but then we'll take it to the casual one after that.
So yeah, so definitely I think Shields is going to stop her, even if she doesn't change those things we talked about. Because I'm just saying, I think this fight is going to be a prime example of when one fighter is just tailor-made for another fighter. And Clarissa's style is tailor-made for Savannah Marshall. But to the point though that y'all was talking about, Clarissa having to go over here and get recognized in the props. I honestly don't think she had to go over. I think she's just an established name, man, here in the United States. What I want us to take focus of is just that, at least over those Brits, Matchbox or whatever, Eddie Hearns, all these guys, the Brits, more so than American promoters, are just straight up behind and see the value in women fighters. Getting Franchon Cruz now, who's getting ready to fight, they done signed Alicia Baumgartner after she lumped up Harper, and most of these fighters, these champions, look at them British or Ireland, that over in that. So I don't think it's that they're going over. Right. It's that they're going over there. If I want a job in the federal government, I might not want to be down in Tupelo, Mississippi. I might need to go up to
What you know about
Washington,
Tupelo?
yeah, you know, I might need to go up to Washington D.C. So with women boxing, let's see what's going on. These cats over in the UK, they are investing heavily in female boxing. That's why I say it's theirs. But her name is her name. She is Clarissa.
It's funny. It's funny that you say
ahead,
that, and then y'all. I mean, everybody joked this dude, but you know, the face of women boxing promotions in the U.S. most likely might be Jake Paul. Yeah. He's doing the most for women boxer in the U.S.
Good point.
Right now than any other promoter. So love him, I hate him.
Good point.
I'll say hate him, but with that said, I don't want to. So let's talk about Chris Eubanks, Jr. So I think I was say a little bit unkind to him and just kind of assessing his place within the middleweight division, right? So because he kind of jumped between super middleweight and middleweight, but this fight was at middleweight, and maybe saying that some of the attention that he gets, because he was actually the top billing for this fight against Liam Williams. This was a rivalry. I mean, it was, if you would have seen the fight, the crowd was clearly behind Liam. And
it was in Wales, though. The fight was in Wales.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, pardon me. Yeah, it wasn't well, which is basically his. It was a hometown fight for him. He does not like Chris Eubanks a lot. I mean, and then Chris Eubanks is the person that he does kind of, you know, check all the boxes in the sense is either you love him or you hate him. Like, there's not too many people that have this kind of middle ground. He really gets under your skin in a sense, but he actually looked pretty good in this fight. He's clearly adapting the style of his trainer, Roy Jones Jr., and actually seems to have almost all the physical tools to be able to kind of do that. I remember when Roy Jones tried to do that with a John Pascal, who just really didn't have all of those tools to really be able to kind of replicate
who remind me of? You remember back in the 90s, the NBA had this dude named Harold Miner.
Harold Miner. I knew he was going to Harold Miner.
He was supposed to be the next
Baby Jordan.
But he was a bum. Chris Eubanks is a bum. The dude he fought was a bum. That's all I got to say about Chris.
I don't know about Liam Williams being a bum. But I'll go ahead, Randy.
Man, go ahead. I mean, the dude just was there to take a pounding. He took a pounding, and then Chris Eubanks was there.
This was an even fight. You know, like this was considered like a 50-50 fight. This wasn't like
he made
it was. I mean, and betting.
Dude, that's why I don't give credit to most British fighters, man. You know what I'm saying? It was 50-50 on papers, but look, go to the top 5 at 168. Go to the top 10, and I don't think he has top 10.
Wait, this is a fight at 160, Randy, not at 168.
This is 160, the middleweight.
Where did he fight? 160 or 168?
This was 160. I talked about
sometimes. Let's go down to 160. He ain't doing nothing with Charlo. I think Lubin taxes him.
Well, Lubin's 154. Come on, casual. You can't be that casual. No, you be a little bit less casual. Lubin
has never fought at 160, man. That's
Lubin is go to Box Rex. He's sitting at 160. I mean, this is 154, but he 154. All right, my fault.
Put your glasses on, man. You and Dave,
my fault. But
man.
He's still not top 10 at 160.
He's definitely top 10 at 160. I can name you the top 5 guys at 160, and Williams and Eubanks.
And Chris Eubanks ain't making it.
Yeah, he is.
He is not, man.
Come on, Randy. And Liam Williams is probably in the 160.
No, Randy, I'm saying you're saying that you named 5 middleweights.
So he's trying to call out. So he's trying to call out Triple G, which should be an easy fight for him to make. But Triple G, I think, dusses him. Murata does him. Laura does him. Charlo does him. I'm just going down the line. I don't, you know what I'm saying?
You think Murata?
Another thing, I put
wait a second, Randy. You sound real. Wait a second.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me say this one last thing. One last thing.
I
put no stock in any Roy Jones fighter. I have never put a stock in Roy Jones fighter.
I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, I feel the same way with a lot of boxer turned trainers. A lot of them haven't proven themselves. There's rarely where you see this great boxer who can kind of translate their boxing acumen and style onto other ones. I'm not saying that, but Eubanks was established before he came to Roy Jones Jr. And then we can just talk about this fight. You know, we can just talk about this fight within a vacuum. He was they've only been together for a year and a half.
When you say established, what do you mean by established?
Yeah, that's what do you mean by, because he caught an L. He got L's on his record. And
which ain't the end of the world. And he's got some solid.
But who else? Who did he beat for you to say that he was established?
Well, let's go over his record. So
he beat DeGale. I'll tell you right now, without looking at his record, he's beating James DeGale, and he's beating John.
I was the one that said that when it stepped up, he lost. So he lost. He has two ugly losses. He lost to George Groves, unanimous decision, and he lost to Billy Joe Saunders. He lost a split decision against Saunders.
Yeah,
he usually
lost that fight pretty.
Yeah, and then when he fights lesser opponents, one of the things I like about him is like he usually gets them out there. Get him out of there. So if you like knockouts, but he had clearly established himself as a name and as a attraction. But he's only been working with Roy Jones Jr.
Established his name.
Well, yeah, I didn't. Yeah, that's what people do.
Yeah, he hasn't established his name.
He's well within the top 10 at 160. Liam Williams is well within
the top 10. Yeah, he's well within the top 10.
What I will agree with Randy is this Roy Jones imitation that he does is gonna get him knocked the fuck out. This Roy Jones shit, he is gonna
got a way better chin than Roy Jones. I will say that.
Well, I don't know about that. He's never been in there with a real puncher. I mean, who are the punchers he's been in there with? I don't think there's any punchers he's been in there with. We really don't know a whole lot about Chris Eubanks because of the way he's moved along his entire career. My take on this fight was more, I really wanted to see what Liam Williams looked like after leaving Dominic Ingle. And I hate to go on another PED rant, but I want to throw a question over to Dave before I go down this road. Dave, in your professional opinion, does an adverse weight cut, does that affect your punch resistance?
Anything adverse is going to have an impact on you. It's just going to be about how you do it. Now, I'm more so definitely on the sweet science side, and I wish we had to get my man Coach Jenkins on here, who is my actual fitness, strength and conditioning coach. But make no mistake about it, draining weight, not doing it right, it has an impact on your entire fight game.
And here's sorry, Dave, finish.
Yeah. So let me be crystal clear. I'm talking about your stamina, your movements, your mental, and definitely your ability to absorb. Not doing it right, it affects your entire game.
And here's where I'm going with that. And I hate to get back on my PED soapbox. Dominic Ingle is a guy whose PED record is well established before I brought it up last week. He's had 3 fighters pop positive. And I brought this up last week that Liam Williams, for whatever reason, decided to part ways with Dominic Ingle in the buildup to this fight. And when I watched Liam Williams against Demetrius, the last fight, eating Mortal Kombat uppercuts, nonstop coming forward, 0% body fat, and then I see him get touched with a jab by Chris Eubanks, an arm punch, and hit the deck. That to me is a guy who put himself through a serious weight cut, and he did so without the assistance of special chemicals. That was my immediate reaction. And that was the whole reason why I was really interested in this fight. He was getting hit by arm. Now, Dave, tell me if I'm wrong. Maybe they were well-timed shots. Maybe they were well-placed shots. But I seen the dude take heavier punches than that and walk right through him. He was getting sneezed on in this fight. How many times did Eubanks drop him? 4 times?
He dropped him 3. Yeah, he dropped him 3 times, I think. Or 4.
Officially 4.
Yeah, about 3 or 4 times, man. It was something, man. So yeah, I mean, I think you definitely got a point, man. I think the jab punch, though, I didn't think about it from that angle. I think it was he just caught my man coming in, and that jab just kind of hit, and that chin don't take a lot. You know what I'm saying? That chin don't necessarily take a lot. Whoever said that they cautious about any Roy Jones fighter, you know.
Me and Randy both agree on that. Yeah.
So look, I'm with you on that thing, man. Because let's just be clear, man. I mean, in all honesty, it's one Floyd, it's one Ali, it's one Roy Jones. Yeah. And as much as we might, you know, wanna as fighters take our style and put it on somebody else, it just seems like you just don't give a chance to see what that fighter can do individually. What's his style? Because you're trying to put yours on it. I think out of all the Roy Jones fighters that I've seen, at least in this fight, I'll say that Eubanks did look and resemble, you know, Roy.
He doesn't have what a lot of people didn't think about Roy was that his feet. And when he was young and was out there spry, that guy moved like a big cat. And
freak athlete.
In and out, like a freak athlete. I'm talking about like he would jump in with hooks that would literally knock your head off. Right.
Oh, that jump hook was fast. That jump.
I mean, that jump, and it was kind of a 45-degree angle. Like if you get caught with that, I mean,
Roy Jones was the Allen Iverson of boxing. And similar to Iverson, when his athleticism, when his timing and his reflexes began to decline, you saw him decline steeply. Everyone likes to say, oh, the weight cut from the Ruiz going down to Tarver. I'm sure that had something to do with it. But Roy's timing and his reflexes, that freakish athleticism that he had, it went. And when it went, he did not have the skill set like a Bernard Hopkins, like a James Toney.
To stay in the pocket with it. He couldn't stay in the pocket with it. His legs wouldn't let him move, but he didn't know how to really stay in the pocket with it.
Well, yeah, or just even like
some of the reflexes.
Yeah, I don't know just some of the textbook things, right? And just some of the textbook things that Tony would do, or even with Bernard, who was very safe with his hands and the way that he came in. Roy was such a freakish athlete that he never really he never developed those kind of textbook those techniques where they'd be kind of second hand. Yeah,
I mean, those God-given, and then so he can't pass that down. So he's not the coach that you want to have. You might want to emulate his style, but he can't teach you the fundamentals, and he ain't sticking to the basics that get you them wins. And Chris Eubanks definitely is not as fast to pull off some of the things that Roy Jones used to pull off. So,
real quick, getting back to Eubanks real quick, as far as the outcome of this fight and where this leaves Eubanks, promotionally speaking, he's in a bit of a tough spot, being kind of in the no man's land, being signed to Sauerland, who has, I guess, sort of an agreement with Sky. If you look at the 160 landscape, you've got. He
ain't touching the top 4. He ain't touching the top 4 in 160.
Well, remember, Demetrius is moving up, right? He's moving up to one.
Oh yeah,
moving up to 168.
Yeah, but they made an agreement where he keeps his belt.
Right, but I'm gonna tell you right now that he is more than likely going to stay at 168. I expect Jamal Charlo to move up to 168. Golovkin, after this Murata fight, is going to have to go up and fight Canelo, it looks like, at 168. So this very, very, very thin 160-pound division becomes even thinner. You've got the Janbek kid. You've got, you've got Munguia.
Has he fought?
Go ahead, Dave.
I was just going to ask, has he fought Munguia? I don't know.
No.
solid record.
And that may be the fight, although Munguia, with his Golden Boy affiliation, is locked into DAZN. And I don't know that Eubanks and his pops and the people at Sauerland are going to want to do business with Eddie. There was kind of bad blood there, but there's money in that fight. So there's the Falcao guy on Top Rank who looks like he's going to fight this eliminator with Jean Beck. There ain't a whole lot out there. The middleweight division is going to be up for grabs here pretty soon. Murata is probably going to retire after the Triple G fight. Murata quietly is almost 38 years old. Yeah. You got Sergio.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
why don't he
fight Triple G next? Why don't he fight Triple G next? I don't.
What's Triple G look like? He's got his Canelo ticket. And Triple G is signed to fight Murata in a fight that keeps on getting pushed back.
They were supposed to fight in December.
Yep, and that fight got canceled, delayed because of COVID, and it still has not gotten rescheduled. And now that it looks like Golovkin is going to be locked in to fight Canelo in September, I don't know that a 40-year-old inactive Triple G necessarily wants to go in there against a guy in Murata who is a puncher, especially in Japan, where who knows how often this guy gets tested. Okay, because Murata, I watched Murata against Rob Brandt and Hassan Indam get his socks boxed off. And then he went over to Japan and he turned into a goddamn murderous monster all of a sudden when he's fighting in Japan. So take that for what it's worth.
Well, I mean, it's good. And like, I don't want to spend too much time on Triple G. I think we should, give attention to people who
we were talking about Eubanks.
Fighting. But yeah. But I think that, but I was talking about against the Triple G Murata fight. I'm expecting that to happen. I don't like the fact that Triple G thinks that he can just kind of wait out to get these big fights, and
he can
kind of.
That's what he's done. That's what he's been doing, and nobody holds him accountable. He does whatever the fuck he wants, and nobody says anything. The sanctioning bodies don't say anything, right? Because he's been holding up the division, babysitting them belts. So I don't like it either. But the sanctioning bodies have got to step in the same way they did with Porter Crawford and say, make this fight happen. You guys make the fight happen. And when the sanctioning bodies step in, then the networks have to step in, and the promoters who are reluctant to do business are then forced to do business. But there's so much money sitting over there in Japan that the sanctioning bodies can't really do anything. Plus the fight is signed and agreed on, right? They signed and agreed to this fight almost a year ago, right? So.
From Austin. All right, so let's do. We're running a little on time, but we're gonna do these kind of quick hidden topics, and then I'll just kind of go around to each of the pundits, starting with the casual one. So, from my understanding, we were close to having so Oscar Valdez signed his agreement, and then they were waiting on Shakur Stevenson, but at this point, where do we stand at that fight? Is this official, and do you expect to see them in the ring coming this spring?
Yeah, I think I just read that Stevenson signed his contract also. I honestly didn't think that this was going to get pulled off. You know what I'm saying? I'm still skeptical because you know what I'm saying? If you know, you know. This would be the best matchup of the year, like unexpected matchup of the year of two greats going in the ring. So to answer your question, I think as of now the contracts have been signed.
All right. So Boston Jared, at this time we've been kind of talking around it, but with Canelo news at this point, just to kind of give people an update. So from my understanding, he is at the precipice of agreeing to a 2-fight deal to fight on Cinco de Mayo weekend and then again on Mexican Independence Day. Can you bring us up to date on that?
Yeah, I mean, I got a text a couple weeks ago saying that Bivol had become the front runner, and that that was the sense that I got was pretty much a done deal. This is, to me, this is a much more dangerous fight for Canelo than the Charlo fight is. I'll be honest with you. I'm not mad at this fight at all. I don't know how well it's going to do because I also understood that this is going to be a pay-per-view fight. So this is the first time that DAZN is really going to try to do something on pay-per-view. Their whole marketing campaign when they first came out was, fights for free, right? Well, they found out the hard way that business model doesn't work. So this Bivol fight is going to be at maybe a catch weight, definitely on pay-per-view. And it's going to be a tough fight for Canelo. Bivol quietly has got a lot of bodies on his resume. Quality wins against real live guys at 175 with less than 20 professional fights. The guy is relatively fresh for Eastern Euro with a ton of amateur experience. He's tall, he's rangy, he's light on his feet. And he's fought at 175 his whole life. I mean, he's been in the ring with guys like, you should switch. I was gonna say, what the hell is going on? He's been in the ring with guys like Beterbiev in the amateurs, Kovalev in the amateurs. It's gonna be. This is a good fight. This to me is a more compelling fight than the Charlo fight. I really, it is to me.
I'm a little disappointed in this, not only because I'm losing looks like I'm gonna lose a lobster tail dinner, couple of them. So to me, this tells me that all of the talk with Charlo was basically just leverage to kind of get what I think he maybe wanted to do in the first place. So you disagree? You think Charlo back?
I think the Charlo fight would have been I understand that it's a 2-fight contract worth 85 mil, but the Charlo fight, the one fight, like Jared would always say, it would have been a Cinco de Mayo fight in Texas.
I would have loved to see that fight. I don't understand.
So I think,
Eastern European.
On the face that y'all always say, the bigger fight was the Charlo fight.
No, I agree. That's why I said I'm disappointed. I'm very disappointed by that news. Coach Day, I have a topic for you, but do you have any thoughts on the news of Canelo signing this 2-fight deal?
No, I agree with you, Cam. I'm disappointed. I agree with Randy. I think it would have been a much bigger fight, man. And also, just for the overall sport of boxing, to see those two cats go at it finally, hey, man.
In their prime, come on.
Yeah.
Let's.
It would have been great for boxing, man. It would have been great for boxing. I mean, coming off of Crawford Porter, you know what I'm saying? Spence Porter, it just would have been great.
It would have been the life that we needed. So with that said, Coach, and this is the last topic, and we can kind of all jump in on that. But we are learning now that Kambosos may not be fighting Haney. Apparently, either Haney's kind of priced himself out of it, or they don't have the money, or are unwilling to pay him. So it seems like it's up in the cards. I don't know if they're angling for a Lomachenko fight. The fight seems like it's going to be in his home country of Australia. But what are your thoughts on Kambosos and the 135 weight, round table that we have?
So, I think I had. Hey, listen, I think I had said it. I think I had said it in one of our other talks, man. In one of our other pop talks. And I'll say it again. The one thing that's kind of unique, man, with that division is that if you match any of those guys up, you're gonna have a great fight. It's because it's just a wealth of fighters in that division. So if Haney doesn't want to fight it, okay, fine. If he fought Lomachenko, better. Even if he went back and fought Lopez again, it's like you can't. If you put the top guys in there, and even Garcia, whatever, and may the Lord bless him with whatever he need to work through physically, mentally, emotionally, even if you put he just has a buffet of good fights to choose from. Can nobody tell me where he would go wrong? We can sit here and talk about who might would win, but okay,
He is
Haney don't
definitely
want
in
to
the
do it.
driver's seat, as you say, right? So he can go this, he can turn left, right, he can go
Anywhere.
straight, and it's going to be the right path, right? So
It's gonna
I
be the
think
right
right now
path.
he's just looking at the best deals. And go ahead, Casual.
As a fan, it sucks. I mean, I don't think Kambosa is ducking. I would say ducking, but I think the way this is planning out, I think his handlers and his promotion is guiding him to the easier path.
What's that? What's
Sabella and Bob Arum have a relationship, though.
I think this the two fight deal. I think he's going to fight. I think he's going to fight a tune-up fight in Australia, and then the second fight is going to be against King Rod. King Rod technically is on like the lowest ranked fighter in the division. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't deserve a shot at the undisputed title at this point in his career. Haney, Lomachenko do. You know what I'm saying? By you coming in just and been out of boxing for so long and been fighting bottom feeders and then be handpicked to fight for the undisputed. Come on, that's a joke to me.
You can't do that though, Randy. If he fights a voluntary first, like you were saying, he is then required to defend one of those belts. He has to fight a mandatory, and I don't think that Ryan Garcia is in a position, is in any kind of mandatory position for any of those belts.
I just don't.
Money talk, man, and I don't trust none of the promoters. So what you saying don't mean, you know what I'm saying, don't really mean stick to me right now. I mean, they're gonna do what they're gonna do. I don't think he's gonna fight one of the top people in the division.
Well, he has. I mean, again, the sanctioning bodies they have their own rules they have to follow here to an extent, right? I mean, Loma is in a position in the WBC. He's the number one. Devin Haney is whatever, the Pride champion or whatever.
So I might have misspoke with the two fights, but I think Ryan Garcia has the two fights. He's fighting the one guy that's a Lou DiBella fighter, and then his next fight will be Kambosa. So that means Kambosa can sit out and then just wait for Ryan Garcia to be ready to fight later on this year.
Nah, he can't do that, Randy.
You can do that.
Either you're gonna fight a voluntary, or you have to defend.
That's what I'm saying. It will be
sit on
Ryan Garcia will be his voluntary.
All right, but let's not dig into that. All right, it's a lot of speculation at the time, but all right, this is a good way to like end it. But we can kind of pick it up.
Hold on, one more thing before I say what came out of this is they saying the zone is the one that shut down the Haney portion.
Who said that? Kamboso said that?
It's the reporting's been out that the zone was like, no, we ain't paying for the.
That's what Dan Raphael said, and Raphael just repeating what he heard Kamboso.
Well, hey, if you don't get the fight, then who's lying?
It's
all right.
Raphael doesn't necessarily.
We are at our point. We want to end it. We can talk about this all night, but we want to sign off.
Well, we're not going to do Danny Jacobs, John Ryder.
What's that again? I didn't have on there.
Danny Jacobs. That's the only fight on this weekend. Danny Jacobs, John Ryder in London. That's actually
it wasn't on the agenda.
Oh, my fault. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry.
All right, we're signing off, y'all.
Oh, the days.